Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and we are in week 2 of my gallery wall series where I'm showing you how I am making my own art gallery wall in hopes to inspire you to make your own art. I think it's so special to have paintings up in your home that are done by you. And today I have this 8x8 frame that I want to fill, and it does have a little mat in here, so I'm going to end up doing about a 6x6 painting. So you are welcome to do that size or whatever size you are looking to fill. I think this is going to be a really fun one. We're doing a little beach scene, so I hope it's really helpful for you. And let's go ahead and grab our paintbrushes and get started. So before we get started on today's painting, let's briefly go over what materials I'm using, and you can feel free to use whatever you have at home, but these are just the materials I love to use. So I am using my Winsor & Newton watercolor kit, and for my brushes I've got 2 today. I have the Silver Black Velvet size 8 and 12, and I get these on Amazon, so they are linked in my Amazon storefront in the description of this video. And for the paper, I recently just started using Arches, which I know is one of the more well-known professional watercolor brands. For a while there, I was using Strathmore. I'm still trying to decide which one I like better. I see pros and cons to both, so just grab whatever you have. And today I am going to use some painter's tape to seal down my paper and have some clean borders. So this one is optional. If you'd rather go for the messy border look, that is totally your call. So I am just going to leave a very thin edge for the border. You probably won't even see it because I have a mat that I am putting over my watercolor in my frame. So once we have that all taped down, let's go ahead and grab our pencil and do our sketch. As you can see, I've got a good old mechanical pencil here, not sketching with anything fancy. You can just go ahead and grab whatever pencil you have laying around. To be honest, I don't really see a need for a fancy pencil because we're going very light here, and you're not going to see the lines very much. You probably will a little bit, which I've said in other videos I actually like when you can see the lines. It just adds a little bit to the authenticity of your painting. So as always, I'm starting with the horizon line. Love to have that a little bit below the middle here. And for our cliff, I am just going to kind of make that start right about here in the middle and go upwards here. I want it to come a little bit down here into the sand area. Now I am going to mark where I want some of the green area to go here on this cliff, and I'm going to keep that towards the top, maybe a little bit here going down into the sand. As you can see, I'm pretty messy with my sketches. I don't like to have too straight of lines here. I just want to get a general idea of where we want our painting to go. So now I'm going to just mark out where our sand area is versus our water, and I'm just gonna leave a little bit of sand here, and most of this will be water. I do think I want to add in some maybe rocks here around like the edge of the water. So if you're following along, you don't have to worry about being too specific. You can, place a rock wherever you'd like. All of our paintings are going to look a little bit different, so that's something I really struggled with when I first started doing watercolor, and I followed a lot of YouTube tutorials. I spent so much time trying to get everything exactly like the tutorial, and I think that honestly hindered me from learning more because I just spent way too much time trying to get an exact copy. And in reality, we're just always going to have different looking paintings, so eventually I looked to tutorials to grab techniques for painting rather than getting an exact replica. And so I hope that's something you can take away from my tutorials. It's just more so painting techniques and a general idea of how to use watercolors. We all have our own style as artists, so I think that is the beautiful thing about art. Okay, so I am happy with our rough sketch here. Let's go ahead and grab our paints and get started. So I'm going to start with my larger size 12 brush here. I always say that I'm going to start with it and then switch, and sometimes I just forget to switch brushes. So there is a very big chance we're going to use this the entire time. So I'm going to mix up a blue, and I like to add a little bit of white in here just to make it look a little bit more muted and toned down. I'm going to go ahead and mix up a kind of a peachy color here. Got some red and yellows in here. So now I'm going to rinse off my brush, and we are going to start off with a wash of the entire sky. Now, I like to start with the sky because I think it's actually, well, I think that one of the harder parts of watercolor, because it's just so open and you want to get things well blended. So I like to get that out of the way, but also it's the lightest thing. And so we want to make sure we're starting with the lightest thing on our paper because we can easily cover up light things with darker colors. So we're always working from light to dark with watercolor. I'm going to go ahead and add in this peachy color. Now let's go ahead and start adding in our blues. A little bit of lavender in here. And I'm just going to start swiping that down into our paper here. I like to just leave some open spaces for clouds. If you'd prefer, you can do like a clear blue sky. Sometimes I love the look of fluffy clouds right above our horizon. And go ahead and add a bit more blue in here. Now I do want to keep our sky pretty light. I want it to just, go well with our gallery wall, and sometimes keeping some more toned down neutral colors kind of helps make things go together a little bit more. I'm just going to add a little bit here of a purple color at the bottom of our clouds. We just love to add a shadow beneath them. Makes it look a little bit more 3D. So I'm going to take my brush and I'm just going to swipe it all across the rest of the page basically. I want to get into painting the water and the cliff. So let's go ahead and actually start with the water. So I want to have kind of a teal color here. So I'm adding a little bit of like purple in here. We want to kind of have a toned down blue. So once you have a color you like for your water, go ahead and just start swiping that in lightly. Going to blend in to the paper if you've laid down a wet base. So I'm going to grab a lighter teal color here, and I'm just going to lightly add that in here in the water. Now I'm leaving a few open spaces of white just to kind of look like there's some waves in there. I'm just using the tip of my brush to be light with this. Okay, now I'm going to use a really light blue here. Go all across as if this is like the lightest part of the water here. We're just going to add some blue in here as if there's some reflection from the sky. And now while our page is still wet, let's go ahead and mix up a tan color. I'm taking brown, a little bit of yellow here, and white. I like to have really toned down, kind of like orangey colors for sand. I even like to add a little bit of purple in here. So just mix up the color until it feels like the shade you're looking for. The fun part about painting, I'm just always playing around with mixing colors until I like it. Some people ask for exact, amounts of colors to mix, but I think really it just takes practice to mix colors until you like it. I think sometimes there's no exact formula to painting, just practice until you like it is my motto. I'm going to take some deeper orange colors and really start adding this into our sand. I'm going to add that here at the bottom. It's really going to make our water pop. I want it to look like the water is just coming right up onto the sand and making it wet. Now I am going to grab a darker brown color and mix that with some purple and blue. Just looking for a darker brown color here. And I'm just gonna add that in very lightly. Again, just to make it look like the sand is kind of wet as the water is coming up. Just gonna add a little bit of this in here in the middle. I actually am going to switch to my smaller brush here, so I'm grabbing my 8. And before we let that completely dry, I'm just gonna take a little bit more of a darker blue color here. Oops, way too much purple. Oh my. That's why you mix on your palette, because I grabbed way too much of that. Just trying to get a darker color for my water. And I just wanted to add that right a little bit here at the top. And I'm kind of using a dry brush technique, and so I want the paint to be pretty dry here on my brush so that when I go across, it kind of gives it that texture. You can see it's kind of got a rough texture to it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and tackle our cliff. So I'm just going to mix up like a lighter tan color, and I'm going to take a yellow, a little bit of red in here. So I'm going to start off with this nice light color here, and I want to just kind of cover the entire cliff area. Go ahead and mark in where you laid out your sketch. Go ahead and add in a little bit more red here. So now while our paint is still wet, I'm going to take our darker tan colors, just some brown, maybe a little bit of orange in here. We want to just have a darker variation of our cliff color. I'm adding that here at the bottom a bit. I'm going to add in some shadows, and I like to, have use of warm and cool shadows. So it's kind of like our warm over here. And we are going to go in a bit with some like blues and purples to add some coolness. And now let's go ahead and grab some green that we can add to our cliff. Just taking in some olive green here. And I'm just going to tap that in here at the top. Doesn't have to be perfect. We don't want the line to be too straight because in nature, nothing is really straight lines. I want to make it have a little bit of a messy look. I'm going to make it go down into the cliff here. We want just a darker variation of our green that we can add. Just going to add that here at the bottom. I always like to add shadows to like one side or the bottom of things, kind of keep it consistent. I love painting beaches, one because they're calming. I love the colors that we can use in a beach, and I could make any gallery wall just come together because these are pretty neutral colors that can pull in other pieces together. But special to me because I actually got married on a beach. My anniversary is almost come. It's in December, and it'll be our 5-year anniversary. And then before I forget, I do just want to lightly add in a cliff that looks like it's here in the distance. So I'm just taking my brush and like a very light, almost gray color, and putting this here off into the distance. It just kind of adds a little bit more to the depth of our painting if we have things that look like they're further back. And like I always say, it kind of helps something to look further back when they're light in color, if they maybe have like a little bluish tint to them. Okay, so now I'm going to take some blues and do a little bit of cool. So now I'm going to take some blues and just do a little bit of some cool shadows here. I want to make sure we've got some at the bottom here right by the beach. And I'm just going to make some upward motions here. I am going to next work on our rocks that we have here. So I am just taking in a light blue color to start with. The rocks I think I want to be pretty dark to end with, so I'm just lightly putting in this color first and putting that where I sketched it out now. Kind of maybe going outside the lines a little bit here, but just a general area where we want these. You can put as little or as however many rocks you want. I just think it kind of adds to the texture of this painting to have some rocks in here. Now I'm gonna grab some brown and maybe a little bit of orange in here. I know that kind of sounds like a weird color for rocks. Got a little bit too much red in here. Okay, so let's go ahead and tap that in here on one side. I'm gonna grab some purple and blues to add to this. It's been a little while since I've been on a beach. I think the last time I was on a beach was when I was in Malaysia, which was in 2024, so I think it's time for me to go back. I love going to the beach. There's something about hearing the waves crash on the shore. I always love to do like a morning beach walk too. So relaxing. So let's go ahead and make sure that our rocks have some shadows here, or reflections I mean. So let's go ahead and just swipe that in here. You can do that very easily by pressing down with your brush. Then I'm going to use the tip to kind of make the thinner lines. I kind of feel like I need to add a few more little rocks. So I'm just going to do that here. Or maybe just some like beach debris here. I just feel like it looked a little bit too perfect, so I'm just going to add that in here, and just taking my thin brush and just maybe add some shadows to one side. So I'm just going to take my thin brush and a dark color, just going to take some Payne's Gray here, and we're just going to add in any other detail that we want. I'm going to maybe take some here at the bottom of our cliff. Maybe a little bit of texture here throughout it. I always just like to do this at the end to kind of put any final touches and final shapes here in the painting. Kind of helps define it a little bit more. And we are all done with our painting, so I am going to remove our tape, and this is always so satisfying to me. I don't know why, I just love revealing the white borders. And here is our finished beach painting. Let's go put it in a frame and see how it looks. Okay, let's go ahead and grab our painting and put it in this frame. I'm so excited to see what it looks like. So here is our painting. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the frame without the glass so that you can see it without a reflection. And I don't do a lot of paintings with a matte in it, but I think that this one is just really fitting. And I like how the matte looks against the wood part of the frame. So let's see what it looks like. Okay, let's do a 3, 2, 1 reveal. 3, 2, 1. I think it looks so pretty, especially with the matte. I think if it didn't have the matte, the sand color is too close to the wood. So I love how the white border kind of just like helps it tie together a little bit more. And if you completed this tutorial, thank you for joining me. I hope that it was helpful for you. So let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed this video and if you have any recommendations for what you want to see next. So feel free to go check out my last gallery wall video and check out my next one I have coming out next week. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I would love to see you in next week's video, and until we paint again next time.